The church pews were lined with flowers so white they looked almost unreal, their sweet scent clinging to the air like a suffocating blanket. Every seat was filled. Friends, family, teammates, reporters who had managed to slip inside all gathered to mourn the late Billy Baker, the man who had been both legend and father. At the front, Olivia Baker sat stiff and pale, her black dress clinging to her as though it too was mourning. Her eyes burned, swollen from nights of crying, but her face remained unreadable. Grief was a storm inside her chest, yet she forced herself into stillness, because Baker's didn't break. Not in public. Beside her, Jordan Baker, her husband, leaned in close, the warmth of his breath cutting through the icy silence of the sermon. His lips barely moved as he whispered, "I changed the lock on your $50 million condo." The words hit Olivia like a slap, dragging her out of her grief and into a raw, searing fury. She turned her head just enough to meet his smug, carefully composed expression. To anyone watching, he looked like a dutiful husband comforting his grieving wife. But Olivia saw the flicker of triumph in his eyes, the same look he gave on the field when he knew he'd already won. Instead of exploding, she laughed. A soft, sharp laugh that made the woman behind her gasp. She pressed a trembling hand to her lips, pretending it was grief spilling out, not rage. Because Olivia knew something Jordan didn't. The condo wasn't just an asset, it was a vault. Her father's vault. Inside those walls were secrets that could ruin not only reputations, but entire careers. Contracts, bribes, names of men who played powerful games behind the curtain of LS, glittering lights. Billy Baker had kept them there for a reason. And now Jordan had locked her out. The funeral rolled on, the preacher's voice fading in and out like static. Olivia barely heard the eulogies. All she could think about was the war Jordan had declared. When the final hymn ended and the crowd spilled into the California sunshine, Olivia felt a hand slip something into her palm. She looked down. A plain envelope, her father's lawyer nodding at her before disappearing into the crowd. Her breath caught. Back in the car, away from the cameras, she tore it open. Only one sentence was written on the page inside: "Do not trust family." Her hands trembled as she reached deeper into the envelope. There, taped to the corner, was a small silver key. The morning after the funeral, the Baker estate in Beverly Hills felt like a battlefield disguised as a home. Chandeliers glistened, silver trays of untouched food cluttered the counters, but the air reeked of grief, tension, and secrets. Olivia stormed into the study, slamming the envelope down on the desk where Jordan Baker sat sipping whiskey at 10 in the morning. "Why did you change the locks, Jordan?" Her voice cut sharp, trembling with restrained fury. "Don't tell me it was for my safety. I'm not stupid." Jordan leaned back in the leather chair, his expression maddeningly calm. He swirled the amber liquid in his glass, savoring her anger. "Liv," he said smoothly, "after everything that happened with your dad, I thought you might lose yourself. Do something reckless. I was protecting you, protecting us." Her laugh was bitter. "Protecting me? Or protecting whatever you don't want me to find in that condo?" Jordan's jaw twitched, but his smile didn't fade. He leaned forward, voice low. "You're grieving. You need to trust me. You're not thinking clearly." The gaslighting landed like poison. Olivia felt the room tilt, her fury burning hotter, but she refused to crumble. Not in front of him. At that moment, the front door creaked open, and Spencer James stepped inside. His tall frame filled the doorway, his eyes flicking between Olivia's flushed face and Jordan's cool mask. "I just came to check on you," Spencer said gently to Olivia, "see how you are holding up." The tension was palpable, the unspoken history between them thick in the air. Olivia forced a small smile, grateful for his presence, though Jordan's scowl deepened at the sight of him. Before Olivia could respond, laughter echoed from the hallway. Coop had slipped into the house, chatting with Grace James, Olivia's mother. But their hushed conversation turned serious, as Billy's old teammate, a grizzled man with a weathered face, cornered Grace near the dining room. He was about to go public, the man muttered, voice urgent. Billy was going to blow the lid off everything. Contracts, boosters, payoffs. And then, suddenly, he's gone? His voice dropped to a growl. Someone silenced him, Grace. Grace froze, her eyes darting nervously toward the study. Olivia caught the words from across the hall, her blood running cold. Her father hadn't just died, he'd been silenced. Later that night, alone in her bedroom, Olivia finally gathered the courage to open the sealed envelope once more. She peeled back the tape on the corner and pulled out a small silver key, not a house key, not a condo key, a key to a storage unit. Her chest tightened as the words from the envelope echoed in her mind. Do not trust family. The hum of Los Angeles traffic faded behind Olivia as she pulled her black SUV into the dimly lit storage facility on the edge of Inglewood. The place felt deserted, a graveyard for forgotten lives, rows of padlocked doors stretching into the shadows. Her heart pounded as she clutched the small silver key, her father's warning echoing in her mind. Do not trust family. Her hands trembled when the lock clicked open. She tugged up the heavy metal door, and the smell of old paper and dust hit her like a wave. Inside, stacked against the walls, were cardboard boxes, each neatly labeled with years and dates. Olivia knelt, ripping one open. Inside were contracts, bank slips, envelopes thick with cash receipts. Names she recognized. Politicians, athletes, boosters, scrawled across documents in her father's handwriting. Her breath hitched. Olivia! She gasped, spinning around. Spencer James stood at the entrance, his face tense, sweat glistening on his brow. What are you doing here? She hissed, her chest tightening. I followed you, he admitted. You shouldn't be alone, not with whatever this is. He stepped inside, picking up a folder. His eyes widened at the contents. Your dad was into something deep. No, Olivia whispered, clutching the file from him. He wasn't dirty. He was protecting something. Spencer searched her face, torn between loyalty to her and his bond with Jordan. Liv, if Jordan knew about this. Don't. Olivia cut him off, her voice sharp. Don't defend him. Not when I have proof my own husband is hiding something. The air thickened between them, heavy with anger, grief, and something else neither dared name. Spencer took a step closer, his voice softening. Then let me help you. You shouldn't carry this alone. Before she could answer, her phone buzzed. A text from Patience. Found something in your dad's guitar. A flash drive. Call me ASAP. Olivia's pulse quickened. Pieces of a puzzle were falling into her lap, but the picture they formed was terrifying. She shoved papers back into the box, forcing herself to breathe, when a shadow shifted near the door. Spencer's eyes darted to the entrance. Someone was there. A figure stepped into the light. Jordan. His expression wasn't anger. It was ice-cold fury, a predator's calm. He looked at the open boxes, then at Olivia, and his jaw tightened. You have no idea, he said slowly, his voice low and dangerous. What you've just started. Olivia's blood ran cold. Olivia couldn't shake the chill of Jordan's voice from the night at the storage unit. Every word had slithered into her bones. You have no idea what you've just started. The following evening, she found herself sitting across from Asher Adams at a dimly lit cafe in West Hollywood. His leg bounced nervously under the table, and his eyes flicked around the room as if someone was watching. Asher, Olivia whispered, leaning in. Why did you ask me here? What do you know? He exhaled, dragging a hand through his hair. I've been working with someone, a journalist. Your father was about to go public. Contracts, names, everything. And Jordan, he's in deeper than you think. Olivia's pulse hammered. You're saying Jordan knew? That he helped cover it up? Asher cut in, his voice low but steady. Maybe even worse. If this gets out, the Bakers don't just lose a reputation, they lose everything. Olivia sat back, her throat dry. Her husband wasn't just hiding something. He was part of it. Later that night, back in her condo, her locked condo she still hadn't regained access to, Olivia met Spencer James in the parking garage. She'd called him, unable to face the storm alone. "Liv," Spencer said, stepping close, concern etched into his face. "You're spiraling. You need to slow down." Her laugh was sharp, hollow. "Slow down? My father might have been murdered. My husband's hiding secrets. I can't slow down." Their eyes locked, and for a breathless moment, the world fell away. The pain in Olivia's chest, the fire in her gut, it all blurred into something dangerous and forbidden. Spencer's hand brushed hers, lingering, his voice lowered, barely a whisper. "You know I'd do anything to protect you." Olivia's lips parted, the distance between them vanishing, when a sudden noise shattered the moment, the slam of a car door, echoing through the garage. They jerked apart, hearts racing, guilt and desire tangled in the silence. Back at her mother's house, Grace James sat Olivia down. Her eyes, heavy with secrets, searched her daughter's face. "Olivia," she said softly, "you think Billy was a saint. But your father's sins, they run deeper than you know. Protect yourself before you drown in them." Olivia's breath caught. "What are you saying, Mom?" But Grace only shook her head, lips trembling, refusing to explain. That night, Olivia sat alone in her darkened bedroom when her phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text glowed across the screen, chilling her blood. "Stop digging, or you'll end up like him." Her father. The next afternoon, Coop and Patience sat cross-legged on the floor of Coop's small apartment, Billy Baker's old guitar resting between them. The wood was scratched, strings loose, but inside its hollow frame they had found a tiny flash drive tucked deep in the body. Coop turned it over in her hands. "Man, why would Billy hide something like this in a guitar?" Patience frowned, plugging it into her laptop. "Because he didn't trust anyone to find it, except maybe us." A file popped up. Just one. Coop clicked play, and Billy's voice filled the room. "If you're hearing this, it means I didn't make it. And if I didn't make it, then it wasn't an accident." Coop's eyes widened. Patience covered her mouth with her hand. "The truth is, Jordan betrayed me. He made promises he couldn't keep. He sold me out when I was finally ready to go public." The voice cracked, heavy with pain and regret. "Olivia, Spencer, Grace, whoever finds this, be careful. Jordan isn't who you think he is." The recording ended abruptly, leaving the room in suffocating silence. "Damn," Coop muttered. "Jordan? Out of everybody?" Patience shut the laptop with trembling fingers. "If Olivia hears this, her whole world will crash down." Meanwhile, Olivia sat alone in her car, staring blankly at the darkened windows of her condo. She couldn't shake the anonymous text, the threat that had crawled under her skin and kept her awake all night. Her phone buzzed again, this time a message from Coop. "We found something. You need to come now." That evening, Jordan returned home late, his mood darker than the LA sky. He poured himself a drink, ignoring Olivia's presence as she lingered in the kitchen. "You've been quiet," she said carefully. He smirked, swirling the glass. "Quiet doesn't mean blind. I know you've been sneaking around." His eyes glinted with menace. "You think I don't see the way you look at Spencer?" Olivia froze, her heart thundering. "This isn't about Spencer. This is about you, about Dad." Jordan slammed the glass down, shards flying across the counter. His voice dropped into a growl. "You don't want to know what I've done to protect this family?" Hours later, when the house was silent, Olivia crept into their walk-in closet. Something gnawed at her gut, an instinct she couldn't ignore. She pulled open Jordan's gym bag. Her breath caught. Inside was a shirt, stiff, crusted with blood, her father's blood. Olivia's hand shook as she clutched the fabric to her chest, the truth pressing down on her like a weight she couldn't escape. The sun had long set over Beverly Hills, casting a golden glow that faded into the shadows of the city. Olivia parked 2 blocks away from her condo, glancing over her shoulder before slipping into the alley that led to the building's service entrance. Spencer James followed silently, his presence both comforting and electrifying, the tension between them unspoken but heavy. "Are you sure about this?" Spencer whispered, his hand brushing hers as they approached the side door. Olivia nodded, jaw tight. "If I don't know what's inside that condo, I'll never be safe. Not from Jordan, not from anyone." The lock clicked open, the one key she had managed to reclaim, and they slipped inside. Dust motes danced in the beam of Olivia's flashlight as they moved through the sleek, silent halls of her father's penthouse. Every picture frame, every trophy seemed innocent, but Olivia knew better. Billy had secrets woven into every corner. They started in the study. Olivia's eyes widened as she discovered a hidden panel behind a large bookcase. She pressed it, and it swung open to reveal a compartment filled with letters, photographs, and an old revolver, the metal darkened with age. "Dad didn't want this falling into the wrong hands," Olivia whispered, her fingers trembling as she traced the photographs. Spencer crouched beside her, scanning the letters. "These aren't just personal letters. Look at the names," he said. "Politicians, businessmen." He was documenting corruption. And Jordan, he's tangled up in it all. The room seemed to close in around Olivia, a mix of dread and determination coiling in her chest. Just then, her phone buzzed. It was Asher Adams, holding up a printed article. "It's live," he said, his voice urgent over the speaker. "The journalist published everything. Billy's files, the shady deals, the connections. LA's exploding live." Olivia's stomach churned. Jordan's empire was crumbling, and the spotlight was coming for them both. Before she could react further, the sound of the elevator echoed down the hallway. Jordan. His footsteps were deliberate, the predator returning to survey his territory. He rounded the corner, face twisted with fury. "If I go down," he hissed, eyes burning, "I'm taking you with me." Olivia froze, her pulse hammering. The weight of betrayal pressed down, but beneath it was a spark she refused to extinguish. She wouldn't be silenced. Hours later, Olivia sat alone in the condo's study, letters spread around her like evidence in a courtroom. Then came another blow, a soft thud against the front door. A folder slid through the mail slot. She picked it up with shaking hands. Inside were divorce papers, filed by Jordan. Her chest tightened, and her hands trembled as she realized the battle wasn't just about truth anymore. It was about the life they had built, and he was tearing it apart piece by piece. The courtroom was sterile and cold, but the tension inside was suffocating. Lawyers lined both sides, stacks of papers towering on polished oak tables. Olivia sat at one end, her hands clasped tightly, her jaw set. Across from her, Jordan's smug confidence radiated like heat from a furnace, daring her to falter. "Your Honor," Jordan's lawyer began, "we contend that the condo and all associated assets remain under my client's control, pending divorce proceedings." Olivia's blood boiled. This wasn't just about property. It was about the legacy her father had fought so hard to protect. Her lawyer, sharp and unyielding, leaned in. "Objection, Your Honor," he said. "The condo was purchased by Billy Baker personally. Any claim by Jordan Baker to restrict Olivia's access is fraudulent." The room buzzed with whispered speculation, the media having caught wind of the trial. Reporters jostled for position, their cameras flashing as family members exchanged thinly veiled glares. Meanwhile, outside, Grace James and Laura Baker, Billy's widow, were locked in a silent battle of wills. Grace's eyes burned with defiance as Laura's lips curled in a sly, practiced smile. "You really think you deserve this, Grace?" Laura hissed. "After all these years, after your son nearly destroyed our family's reputation?" Grace's voice was ice. "I deserve the truth. And Olivia deserves to inherit her father's legacy without fear of manipulation." Inside the courtroom, Spencer James whispered urgently to Olivia, "Liv, I found something. The condo wasn't just under Billy's name. It's tied to a shell company, organized crime connections. Jordan's fingerprints are all over it." Olivia's stomach dropped. She hadn't just been fighting her husband, she had been navigating a minefield. "Are you saying he's laundering money through my father's estate?" Spencer nodded grimly. "It looks that way." The tension spiked further when Olivia's lawyer presented damning evidence. A series of forged documents showing Olivia's name tied to financial transactions connected to criminal networks. Olivia's hands shook as the courtroom gasped. "Your Honor," the lawyer said, "this is not just fraud. It's manipulation, deception, and betrayal, crafted by someone Olivia trusted implicitly." Jordan's face hardened, his mask of composure slipping ever so slightly. Olivia felt the scales of power shifting. The gavel struck, echoing like a drum in her chest. The estate, the condo, her father's legacy, it was no longer a simple inheritance. It was a battlefield, and the war had only just begun. Olivia's eyes narrowed as she looked at Jordan, her resolve hardening. She would reclaim what was hers, and expose every lie he had buried in shadows. The Baker estate had turned into a war zone. The walls that once held laughter now echoed with accusations, slamming doors, and whispered conspiracies. Olivia paced the marble floors of the living room, her mind a storm of suspicion and dread. "Jordan set me up," she muttered under her breath, her fingers tracing the edge of the coffee table as if grounding herself. "But I think someone else is pulling the strings, too." Coop, pacing beside her, shook his head. "You mean Laura, don't you?" Olivia's eyes narrowed. "I don't know yet. But something about the timing, the way Dad died, it doesn't add up." Patience appeared from the hallway, holding her phone like it was a weapon. "Olivia, we can't keep the recording quiet any longer. People are asking questions, reporters are sniffing around. If this leaks, then they'll know the truth." Olivia finished grimly, thinking of the flash drive Coop and Patience had uncovered weeks ago. Her father's voice replayed in her mind. "Jordan betrayed me. He made promises he couldn't keep." The doorbell rang, sharp and jarring. Olivia froze. Coop and Patience exchanged uneasy glances. When Olivia opened the door, a uniformed police officer stood there, a thick folder in his hands. "Olivia Baker?" he asked. "Yes," she said cautiously. "You're under investigation for fraud and embezzlement related to the estate of William Baker. You need to come with us." The words struck her like a lightning bolt. Her knees went weak, and her hands shook. "What? This has to be a mistake," she protested, her voice cracking. The officer shook his head, impassive. "I'm afraid not, ma'am. Please gather your things and come with me." Inside, Coop grabbed her arm. "Liv, we'll figure this out. I'll find the proof that Jordan's behind this. You just have to stay calm." But Olivia couldn't breathe. Her family was collapsing around her. Every alliance she thought she had was cracking. Jordan, Laura, the lawyers, even the media, they were all pawns in a game far bigger than she had realized. As the police led her toward the car, her eyes caught Spencer's across the street. He had a look of desperation, anger, and fear. He mouthed, "I'll fix this." Olivia's heart clenched. Could she even trust him? Could she trust anyone? And then a final chilling realization struck her as the car door slammed shut. Someone in her family had orchestrated this entire nightmare. The city lights of Los Angeles blurred past her as the siren's wail rose in the night, and Olivia's mind raced. She knew one thing for certain. When she got out, the war wouldn't just continue, it would explode. The interrogation room was cold, fluorescent lights casting harsh shadows across Olivia's pale face. Her hands were cuffed to the metal table, her pulse hammering in her ears. Across from her, the detectives questioned her relentlessly, their voices a blur of accusations and legal jargon. Olivia met every question with silence, refusing to break. Every fiber of her being screamed, but she knew one thing. Revealing what she knew now would destroy everything. Or worse, make her an enemy to the wrong people. Outside the station, Spencer James paced, jaw clenched. He had spent the day piecing together Jordan's backroom dealings, every shred of proof pointing to deceit, manipulation, and betrayal. His mind raced. He had to save Olivia before the law, the media, and the family collapsed around her. Inside, Olivia's phone buzzed silently in her purse. Spencer had managed to slip a message through. "Trust me, I've got this. Stay strong." Her chest tightened. She had never doubted Spencer's loyalty. But now, with every secret unraveling, trust was a dangerous commodity. Hours later, she was released on bail, her lawyer insisting she leave immediately. She didn't want to go home. The Baker estate was no longer safe. But as she stepped into the driveway, the reality of her father's empire crashed down around her. Jordan's empire wasn't just collapsing. It had been built on lies, bribes, and manipulation. Spencer had sacrificed his career, exposing Jordan's backroom deals to protect Olivia. Every headline now screamed the scandal across Los Angeles: Baker family corruption exposed. But the worst was yet to come. In the quiet of her bedroom, Olivia felt the creeping sensation of eyes watching her. She froze, heart thundering, and slowly turned toward the dresser. There, hidden in plain sight, a small, blinking red light glimmered from a corner of the room. A hidden camera. The realization hit like ice water. The person watching her, her most private moments, was family. Olivia's stomach dropped. Could it be Jordan? Laura? Grace? Or someone she had never suspected? Every alliance she thought she had suddenly felt tenuous. Betrayal wasn't just lurking outside her walls, it was inside, within the very people she loved and trusted. Spencer's voice came through the phone, trembling with urgency. "Liv, you have to be careful. Whoever's watching, they're waiting for a mistake. One wrong move, and everything ends." Olivia swallowed hard, feeling the weight of every secret, every lie, and every betrayal pressing down on her. She realized the war wasn't just about inheritance, power, or even her father's legacy. It was about survival, and survival meant unmasking the traitor before they struck again. The grand hall of the Baker estate was electric, buzzing with tension as family, lawyers, and reporters gathered for the will reading. Cameras flashed, pens scratched, and whispers ricocheted off the high ceilings. Olivia's heels clicked sharply against the marble floor as she entered, a calm mask over the storm inside her. Jordan stood at the head of the room, his usual smug expression replaced by something darker, desperation thinly veiled with arrogance. Laura, Billy's widow, lingered nearby, a faint smile curving her lips, watching Olivia as though calculating every reaction. Grace James hovered silently in the corner, eyes darting between everyone, the weight of decades of secrets pressing down on her. The lawyer cleared his throat and began reading aloud, detailing assets, bequests, and trusts. Olivia's mind wandered, mentally reconstructing everything she had uncovered: the condo, the shell companies, the hidden compartments, the recordings, the forged documents. And then came the shock. Jordan and Laura had secretly conspired to bury Billy's legacy, fearing exposure. Olivia's chest tightened as each revelation hit her like a blow. He had manipulated the estate, falsified documents, and tried to pin every crime on her. Laura had aided him, her smile nothing more than a mask for deceit and ambition. Spencer's whisper in her ear was barely audible. "Everything he built is a lie, Liv." But now, the truth's coming out. The room erupted into chaos. Accusations flew, voices rose, and cameras captured every scream, every confrontation. Jordan accused Laura of betrayal, Laura shot back with contempt, and Grace confronted them both, her voice trembling but fierce. "You thought you could bury the truth, but it's alive, and it's finally free!" Olivia stood in the center, calm but fierce, letting the family implode around her. She had uncovered every lie, revealed every betrayal, and reclaimed what was rightfully hers. Her father's legacy would not be corrupted. Not by Jordan, not by Laura, not by anyone. She walked toward the condo keys she had reclaimed, feeling the weight of the past years lift slightly. Whispering under her breath, she said what she had known all along. The lock was never about keeping me out, it was about keeping the truth in. Her heels clicked toward the exit as cameras swarmed and accusations spiraled behind her. She didn't look back, her heart racing with freedom, vengeance, and clarity. And then, in the shadow of the estate gates, a figure stepped out from the darkness. Olivia froze, disbelief and hope warring in her chest. Billy Baker. Alive. The wind caught his coat as he took a deliberate step forward, eyes locking with hers, a faint, unreadable smile on his face. Olivia's breath caught. Every secret, every betrayal, every battle. Nothing had prepared her for this. The war might have ended, but the story was far from over.